On paper, Everything Everywhere All at Once is a joke, a pitch impossible to sell to any studio. Imagine this, a movie about the multiverse but not the Marvel kind, a film about martial arts but with giant hotdog fingers, a film about saving existence but the ultimate weapon is kindness, and most emotional scene involves two silent rocks. This film sounds like a mad art experiment destined to be watched by a handful of people at a midnight film festival.
And the Oscar goes to Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. Daniel Kwan, Daniel Scheinert.
Yet in March 2023, this mad experiment stood on the most prestigious stage in the world. This film did not just win, it swept 7 Oscars, including the biggest categories. How? Did the Academy suddenly transform into a collective of avant-garde cinephiles? Of course not. The answer lies in the film's quietest score. Beneath all the multiversal chaos, beneath the bizarre costume, the absurd jokes, and the editing that feels like a visual panic attack, Everything Everywhere All at Once had a question that is profoundly simple and humanized. This film is not about infinite universe. This film is about one family on the verge of losing the reason to love each other. A big question is not how do we save the multiverse, but rather, among infinite possible lives we could have lived, how can we accept that the life we have right now, messy, full of disappointment, and painfully ordinary is already enough? How could the craziest film at the Oscar speak directly about the simplest thing? Let us step back for a moment. This film won Best Picture, Best Director for Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, the duo known as the Daniels, directors of music videos and the absurdist film Swiss Army Man. Michelle Yeoh, an icon of Asian action cinema, became the first Asian woman to win Best Actress. Ki Hugh Kwan, a child actor whose career faded for decades, won Best Supporting Actor. Jamie Lee Curtis won for a bizarre supporting role, add to that Best Original Screenplay and Best Editing. It is total recognition. But the real question is, why now? Why would the Academy, the institution that usually rewards films that feel safe and prestigious, embrace a movie featuring a scene where people jump and land on a giant butt plug? The answer is not that the Academy changed, but that this film managed to do something incredibly rare. It fused an epic narrative scale with an intimate personal conflict. Many films use the multiverse as an escape, a power fantasy, or a visual spectacle. What if I could control time? What if there was another Spider-Man? But Everything Everywhere All at Once uses the multiverse to ask, if all possible versions of your life exist and you can see the best version of yourself that you never became, does your current life still hold any meaning? This is no longer a superhero question. This is the question of a mother, a husband, a daughter, all grappling with regret. The Academy did not vote for a strange film. They voted for an astonishingly honest mirror of the modern human condition, one that just happened to be wrapped in the wildest wrapping paper imaginable.
Evelyn, please, calm down.
Our protagonist is not a brilliant scientist or a chosen warrior. She is Evelyn Wang, a middle-aged Chinese immigrant running a laundromat. Her life is the definition of ordinary yet overwhelming, exhausting. Her business is being audited. Her husband, Wayman, so gentle and naive, feels like another burden on her shoulders. Her newly arrived father, Gong Gong, is a source of relentless pressure and criticism. And her daughter, Joy, is drifting away, frustrated that Evelyn seems unable to see who she truly is. Evelyn is a walking portrait of regret. In every corner of her life, she sees failure. She dreamed of living, of becoming a singer or an artist, but ended up folding clothes. And then, the multiverse arrives. At first, it feels like an escapist fantasy. Suddenly, Evelyn can access the skills of her other selves. In other universe, she is a legendary movie star or a kung fu master. In short, she can become all the version of herself she thought she should have been. This is where the film's genius lies. The multiverse is not just a science fiction concept. It is the perfect metaphor for how our minds work. Every night before we sleep, we enter our own multiverse. We reply choices. What if I had chosen a different major? What if I had taken that job? What if I had not ended up that relationship? Every what if is a parallel universe we create, and in each of those universes, we are always the best version of ourselves. This film exposes its greatest temptation. What if you could actually feel all of that? What if you could clearly see the happiness you did not choose, not to inspire you, but to torture you? The more possibilities Evelyn sees, the more she realizes her mind is a prison built by her own regrets. The multiverse becomes a visual representation of the mental burden of a woman who believes that among all possible paths, she chose the one most wrong. If Evelyn is the symbol of regret, then her daughter, Joy, known across the multiverse as Jobu Tupaki, is the fruit of that regret, upgraded into a dark philosophy. Jobu is not just a villain. She is someone whose mind was forced to experience every possible universe simultaneously by her own mother in another universe. And what happens when one consciousness holds all possible lives at once? Not wisdom, not peace, but total emptiness. Because if you can see everything, then everything becomes equally meaningless. Every victory in one universe is upset by a loss in another. Every love is paralleled by an equally deep tragedy. Nothing is special. So, Jobu creates the everything bagel, a brilliant symbol. The bagel is not just a joke, it is the void created by peeling everything onto one single point until nothing retains any meaning. Like a nihilistic bomb, it is the temptation to surrender to meaningless. This is a perfect portrait of the modern psyche. We, the generation drowning in information, are early version of Jobu Tupaki. We wake up, grab our phones, and instantly we are everywhere. We see a friend's vacation, a disaster in another country, political rage, a funny post, and a personal tragedy, all on one screen in 5 minutes. We, like Jobu, experience too much of everything, and the side effect is numbness. The most logical response to overstimulation is cynicism, apathy, and profound exhaustion. Jobu Tupaki is the voice of that fatigue, screaming, "If nothing matters, why not just destroy it at all?" The great battle in this film is not against a monster. It is against nihilism itself. And how do you fight it? The answer is, the film gives is as absurd as its premise. Not with strength, not with weapons, but with, among other things, such as kindness, Google Eye stickers, and a pair of rocks. To understand this, we must look at how the film's visual function. Paul Rogers' editing is not merely style. It is a language. At the start, when Evelyn is panicked and overwhelmed, the editing is an assault, fast, brutal, and chaotic. The screen is full of flashing images, colliding sounds, shifting aspect ratio. We as the viewers are made to directly feel the disorientation inside Evelyn's mind.
Like I said to you before,
It's you messing with my head.
Then, as Evelyn begins to accept herself, her daughter, and her husband, the film visuals slowly begin to stabilize. The chaos recedes, the camera holds still more often. The focus is no longer on explosion, but on the micro expression on Michelle Yeoh's face. This is proof that the film doesn't use style just to show off. Its form follows its emotional function. The chaos is a representation of conflict, and the calmness is the beginning of acceptance. And the peak of all of this is the rock scene. In the middle of the loudest, fastest, most visually dense film, we are suddenly thrown into total silence. Two rocks, motionless, no faces, only text. This is the film's philosophical turning point, not just a moment of comedy, though it is absurd. It is the moment where the film itself practices its own teaching. After showing us all the infinite possibilities of existence, it asks, in a universe so vast and chaotic, isn't our small, silent existence sometimes enough? They just exist together. And in that silence, the film's message echoes loudest. You do not have to be extraordinary to be worthy. Everything Everywhere All at Once doesn't end with a promise that everything will be fine. The world is still chaotic. Taxes still need to be paid, family relationships remain complicated, and this film doesn't offer perfect happiness. It offers something more real: acceptance. Among all the universe where Evelyn is a star, is rich, is a legend, she chooses to return to the universe where she is her most felt self. She chooses to go back to the laundromat, to Wayman, to Joy. Not because it is the most glamorous choice, but because that is where her love is. That is where her struggle is. In an era that makes us feel hollow and cynical all too easily, Everything Everywhere All at Once is a gentle slap. It acknowledges that yes, nothing matters. The universe is chaotic and silent, but on that bedrock of meaninglessness, we can still choose to be kind. We can still choose to hold the person next to us. This film doesn't say that our lives are perfect. This film says something deeper, harder, and more salvaging. Among all the possibilities we did not live, among all the regrets that haunt us, the life we have right now, with all its messiness and simplicity, is still worth fighting for and still worth loving.